Hello, this is August 18th, 2024. My daughter is going to have a birthday, and I'm not going to say which one because then you might know how old I am. But her birthday is August 20th, in 2 days. I'm going to make this recipe of sour cream pastries and put it on YouTube because she has never learned to make these and they are her favorite thing, and she's been eating these since she was just born. And to let you know, I probably shouldn't even say this, this was the original recipe. It was in a Better Homes and Gardens magazine, December 1971. Her father also loved these, and we made them every year, left them for Santa Claus on Christmas Eve, and I think I've only missed, in her whole lifetime, I think I've only missed 2 years of making these for her. So, the original recipe, and you can see I had to finally type a new one. So we'll put this over here for now. That's kind of just a remembrance now. So we've gone to this. And as you can see, I've made a lot of notes. And I did give her a copy of this and on August 21st, 2014. I always date all my notes and things. And I was in beauty school when I first tasted one of these, and we had a buffet, and another girl brought some. We were all supposed to bring something for the little luncheon, and her aunt, depending on what part of the country you're from, made some of these, and I thought they were very good, so I got the recipe. Okay, so from the time I went to beauty school, which was before my daughter was born, until now, I have made these every year for her. And actually, I didn't ever eat any of these, just she and her father. But I've started enjoying them myself, so I keep a few. What you're going to need for this recipe, and I'm kind of doing this if she ever wants to make these herself, she can watch me do it because she has not learned to do this. It's easier for me to do it. So you're going to need a cup of very cold butter, and I use Land O'Lakes. I actually use butter. I wouldn't use anything else. And then you're going to need 1 egg. You're going to need a half a cup and 1 cup, measuring cup, and sour cream. Then you're going to need 2 bowls and a fork, a knife to cut the butter, a spoon to get that out of there. You're going to need some all-purpose pre-sifted, I use the gold medal flour. And up until just the last 2 years, I have taken a pastry blender and blended the butter and flour together, and that's a lot of work. So I thought I'm going to try this in a food processor. Now, we have a lot of antiques. This is another antique. This is an old, and it weighs a lot, old iron Cuisinart food processor. This was my mother's, and I can't even tell you when she bought this. It could have been the 70s, 80s, I don't even know. But I used it last year for this very purpose. I don't use it much. So I'm going to try to use this today. Now, I think I would start by separating the egg, and you're going to only use the egg yolk. So I'm going to put the white in the smaller bowl. And the way you separate the egg yolk is, at least the way I do it, just like that. Then put your egg yolk in there. Now, the reason I did that is because you have to put your sour cream in with this. And it says one beaten egg yolk. So just take your fork. Get that like that. And then take 1/2 cup, which is this measure here, and a nice sized spoon. I kind of mixed that up a little bit. I just opened it. Kind of hoops it up a little bit. It's a little easier to work with. Okay, and then we'll spoon sour cream into here. And I always make more than just one recipe. And these freeze nicely. You can put them in Reynolds wrap and then in a Ziploc bag, and they'll keep quite a while in the freezer. And you want to get this measure pretty accurate here. And that looks pretty good to me. And then you put that in with the egg yolk. And I guess since my daughter's birthday is day after tomorrow, this will be her birthday present. Because I normally spend Christmas in Florida and she doesn't really get to come down there, and so I have to leave some in my freezer here in Illinois, and then she comes over and gets her Christmas sour cream pastries when I'm in Florida. She did come one year and I made her some for down in Florida. Okay. So, set that aside. Now on the egg whites, I used to put those in the microwave because I have dogs and they like egg whites. And so I'd put them in the microwave, and then by the time I got through doing this, there they would be the next morning. I would microwave them and I'd forget to take them out. So if you're going to fix them for your dog or for yourself, don't forget to put them in the refrigerator. Okay, now we're going to mix these two together. And you know, I might have been better off to have used a spoon with this, because that's not doing a very good job. I probably would use a spoon the next time. But I think I can get this done like this. And you want to get that in there because this is going into your flour. So you want this to be well mixed. with the egg. Yeah, I'll use a spoon the next time, for sure. It wouldn't take this long. And you can get it scraped better with a spoon in the bottom of your bowl. Okay, I think that's probably pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to get another spoon. I think it's best, I think you get a better measure if you kind of take your spoon. I keep my flour in the freezer. And it gets kind of packed together. Some people just keep their flour on the countertop, but I don't use flour that often, and you don't want bugs in it. And I was told that, and I don't know if this is the truth or not, but a chiropractor told me to keep the flour in the freezer because somehow it can cause cancer, some sort of chemical. Don't ask me, that may not be the truth, but I keep it in the freezer. So I spoon. I fluff the flour and spoon it in there so it's just not so, I don't pack it. It's kind of messy. And then you'll want to and you know what? I think it's going to give you a better measure if you take a knife. I don't always do that, but it really would be more accurate if you just take a knife and do that. And then that's, now you could weigh it, but it doesn't say on this recipe, it doesn't give that as a measurement. It just says a cup. So I think that's going to be as close as we can come. Now it says 2 cups, so we're going to do that one more time. As you can tell by now, I am not a professional cook at all. And I have to be really careful when I'm reading my recipes because I guess I misread them or just, I don't know. But I have been known to make mistakes. So I really pay attention to the recipe no matter how many times I've made it. I don't try to go on my memory. I just look at the recipe and I try not to have people talking to me because if I do, then I'll forget if I put the ingredient in or not. So I'm probably one of the few people that have that problem, but I'm sure I'm not the only person. Now, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so, and then you want to get the flour off of that little center thing. I hope this works. It did the last time. Okay, now, here's another secret. I also keep my butter in the freezer, but I took this out and put it in the refrigerator. And this is a pastry dough, and anytime you're working with a pastry dough that has butter and flour, you want your butter to be cold, not melted, not warm, not. Now, you know what? That's not as cold as I'd like it to be. It took me a few minutes to set this up. I'm going to step away for a moment and I'll be back. I'm going to see if I can get some butter that's colder than this. This is too important to do this wrong for my daughter. I'll be right back. We're back. I got 2 sticks of butter out of the freezer, which is not ideal. You're better to have the butter in the refrigerator. So this has been rather difficult, but it is cold. And I like to just do little bitty pieces. That way your food processor doesn't have to work as hard and you don't have to leave it in there as long. So yeah, just slice your butter off. It's starting to get softer now. And then it's kind of a messy process. You get butter all over your hands, but just do this. Yeah, it's getting a lot softer. And this is, if you've ever made pie crust with butter, this is a very similar process to that, but you don't put water or milk in there. And you don't want to overwork it. You don't want it to be tough. And you do want, just any French pastry you make, you want your butter to have little chunks in it, because that's what makes it buttery and crusty. You don't want this to be completely blended to a smooth consistency. So get your butter in here, 2 sticks. Right now it really doesn't look like it's, maybe I should have divided it. We'll see. Hopefully I can get all this in here. On the next one I may divide. This is all new. I usually just do it with a pastry blender. I think I might cut it down to 1 cup of flour and 1 stick of butter, which is half cup of butter. And I really think that might have been a better option. We'll see. You could probably cut here until I get back. We are back. I had to wash all that butter off my hands. I hope this works. Okay. Now you want to keep a close eye on it, because you want it to be, what does it say? Until it resembles fine crumbs. And I would just pulse it. So you, wait a minute, I don't have that on there. Good. There we go. Okay, I'm going to take a peek at this. Now, the way I've always seen people do this is you do this and see how that kind of sticks together. I'm going to run that just for another few seconds, but I really don't want to overwork this, and I really think this is okay. Okay, we're going to hope that did it. Now, the original recipe says to divide this in 4 equal portions. I did that for years. In just the last few years, I've started doing it in 3 portions. Because if you make this the way it says to, which is a circle and then you cut it in equal portions and then you just do it like a croissant, the apricot preserves ooze out. They stick to the Reynolds wrap and they kind of burn. So a few years ago I thought, what if I make little boats? And I like those a lot better. They're bigger, they're not bite size, But in the next video, I will show you how to make those. And this has to set for overnight to chill. So again, you're going to need 1 cup of butter, 1 beaten egg yolk, 2 cups of sifted all-purpose flour, and 1/2 cup of sour cream for the dough. And then on the next video, we will get these out of the refrigerator tomorrow and bake them. We're back again. Okay, you have put your flour and butter in there and ground that up. Now you're going to need a bowl, because you don't want to put this in the food processor. I can't even imagine. For one thing, I think it might be hard to get out of there, but I would definitely put this in a bowl. Now, this has been in the refrigerator, so it didn't spoil. And this is your egg yolk and your sour cream mixture. And at this point, I'm going to use a spoon instead of the fork. Now you're going to put this in here. I think I see why my daughter doesn't make these now. This is just the crust. It is a 2-day process, and I never look forward to doing it, but she likes these so much, I do it because I love her. So, and it's only once or twice a year. I certainly wouldn't make these every month, but they are good. I mean, these are great with a cup of orange tea with some honey in it, or coffee. Now what I'm going to do is take some of this and put it in here, because I really want as much of that moisture as I can get. So I'm just going to put that in there, and that will get every bit of the sour cream and egg yolk out of that bowl. It's amazing how many things you learn after you've made a recipe, and you still learn new things every time. Okay, so there's that. So let's get this blended up. And I use my spoon for the most part. Probably use a spatula or a wooden spoon, whatever you're comfortable with. And we don't want to overwork this either, but you have to get it blended up there. Okay, we'll be back in just a minute while I get this blended, and then I'll show you what to do with it after that. We are back. I mix this up with a spoon, and then you can go in here with your hands to make sure it feels right. See that? Make sure you have it all mixed together. And then I have 3 sheets of cling wrap already cut, because your hands will be dirty. As I said, we learn things as we go along. That's one of the things that I learned. Okay, so I think that's about where we want it. So now 3 portions is what I use. You can use 4 if you would rather. And you want them equal as much as you can make them equal. And when you've been doing this for a while, when you bake these, if you want just a little bit more butter after you've made these out into big pancakes, you could just put a few flakes of butter in there equally. It would make it a lot more buttery, but you don't want to put too much. And then you can just kind of roll this around to pick up those loose crumbs in there. Press it, because you don't really want to leave any of that. It's just too hard to make. Just press that to get the crumbs up. That looks like about 3 equal portions. Won't be exact, but it will be pretty close. So, I would start with my hands and make it. Now, some people would just do that. You're going to put these in the refrigerator, so they'll be hard to deal with when they come out because they're going to be cold and hard. So I do try to get them a little bit flatter, and that way I don't have to do so much with my rolling pin, because you will have to flour these and roll them with the rolling pin because they'll end up about this big. So I do as much of that right now in getting those the correct shape and size as I can. Now this is starting to get very warm and sticky and soft, so I can only do so much here. But that's about where I like to get it. And then you're going to see cracks here, so I also try to fill those in. And then you just take your cling wrap which is hard to deal with. There we go. And put that over there. Now, I leave a little bit back here because once you get that in there, you can work on that just a bit more before you have to put it in the refrigerator. So that gives you one more chance to work that out a bit. Well, I think I'm going to pull that off of there. So it's not stuck to it. So I'm going to pull that back now. Put that down there. And there you have it. ready to go into the refrigerator for 24 hours. And then we'll be back and show you how to make sour cream pastries out of that. So, see you tomorrow. Hello. Today is August 18th, 2024. I started this project yesterday. I have already rolled out the dough and put flour under the dough. You don't want it to stick on the Reynolds wrap. Then I put flour over the top and rolled it into a pizza size circle. I cut it in 6 pieces, just like you would cut a pizza. And then I put this apricot preserve on the first layer. And I prefer this Baker's sweetened coconut, but it's hard to find. I put that down next. And then I put the chopped pecans on top of that. What I do differently than the recipe is, instead of just making little croissant shapes with an open end, I start at this end and I pinch the dough together all the way up to here, and then I lay the tail up here on top. Then I pinch this together and lay it over there. So what you really have is a little enclosed boat. And then I just get one of these brushes and put some milk in a little bowl. You don't need a big bowl. And I brush each one of these with milk. Now, I think it's best not to leave the milk laying on your baking Reynolds wrap that you're going to bake on. So I do dry that off. And then I just get a shaker. I use this one, and put it up with granulated sugar, just white sugar. You can use any kind you want. And after I've brushed them with milk lightly, I shake the sugar on top. And if you want to, you can kind of press that into the dough. Then I sprinkle sugar down and I pull the pastry over on top of the sugar so it doesn't stick. You do not want that to stick because you will lose the filling out. So I'm getting ready to put them in a 350-degree oven. Depending on how golden you want them, I'd set it for 15 minutes and go from there. It might end up being 20 or 25 minutes. And kind of put them in the middle of the oven. And check them often, because my daughter likes these more golden. I like them a little lighter. So they're going into the oven. Oh, I better tell you this too. After I get them on this baking sheet, I stick them in the freezer for a while so that they get real good and cold. Okay, they're going in the oven. Be back in a little bit. Okay, they just went into the oven. You can see they're in the middle. And we'll set the timer for 15 minutes. I am back. I put the sour cream pastries in the oven for 15 minutes at 350. And I kept checking them every 5 minutes. This is about where I like mine, but you might like yours a little more golden or even less. I also wanted to mention that the rolling pin I use is this one. You have a little more ability to go different directions with that one. And I use these cookie sheets to bake on. They have the air layer in them, and I'm not even sure you can still get those, but that layer of air keeps them from burning on the bottom. Not sure what the name brand is of that. I also wanted to mention that when I made the video yesterday, I used a different knife to level off my flour, and really this is the one you should use, and you should use the straight part on the bottom to skim your flour off with, not the knife I was using. And you should use a spoon for your egg yolk and then to blend in your sour cream. Also, I went ahead and made 2 more batches, and I only got, out of 16 ounces of sour cream, I only got 3 batches. So I'm not sure how that works out. I had just a little bit left over, but it was 16 ounces and you only use a half a cup per batch. So I don't know how that works. Maybe a 16 ounces of sour cream is only 3 half cups, but that's how it turned out, and these look like they're going to be okay. Another thing I wanted to mention, I did, right after I spoke with you, my basil, my dried basil fell on the countertop, so I did get all of that re-tied today. One other thing I want to mention is, if you're like me, you will make all your dough up and make it into these round circles like this, but you don't have to bake all of them. Just get some Reynolds wrap, wrap it tightly, and put it in a freezer Ziploc bag, and you can put that in the freezer for at least 3 months. I have done it for longer, but I would say safely to have good taste 3 months. And then you can just, when you run out and you want some, you just go get yourself one of these out, let it thaw out for a few minutes at room temperature, and make, 6 per, and that way you have fresh ones. However, you can also bake these, wrap them in Reynolds wrap and put them in a Ziploc bag and freeze them already made, so you just have to go and get one out or 2. So those are some things I wanted to mention. Tomorrow I will try to come back and make some of these for the video, but since my daughter's birthday is day after tomorrow, I thought I should go ahead and get these made. You never know if you're going to feel good or whatever. So while I felt like it, I thought I'd go ahead and do this. And I did make a mistake on her birthday. Her father's birthday was on August 20th. Her birthday is August 21st. Sorry, Tana. Not that I forgot. It's just I misspoke. Okay, so we're going to sign off right now, but hopefully we'll see you back again tomorrow and I can demonstrate how to make these. Jim and Tom are outside putting up a light pole today, so I didn't have one. He wasn't here to video for me, so I'm doing this myself today, but hopefully he'll be back tomorrow. Okay, bye. Hello, I am back. I wanted to show you the difference in making what I call these boats. you can see they do stick a little bit, and that's why I put a base of sugar under them and tell you to get the milk off. But you can also see right here where some of the preserves came out, and they do stick. I would let these sit out at room temperature for just a few minutes, and then the way I get these off is, let's just say this one's right here. I turn it up like that and kind of peel it off. Otherwise, you're going to, if you just try to jerk them off of there, the bottom is going to stick, and you don't want that. That's a good part of your pastry right there. And as you can see, this one did stick. And the rest of them, I think that was the one that stuck. But you can see I had pretty good luck. Isn't that pretty? I had pretty good luck with them not sticking. But it's because I didn't leave the milk on the Reynolds wrap, and I make boats out of them so the preserves don't ooze out quite so bad. And I let them cool for a few minutes and just literally turn the Reynolds wrap up like that and kind of gently peel them. If you don't do that, you're going to be disappointed. I have learned this over a long time. Otherwise, they're going to taste good, but they won't be as pretty, and you will lose that beautiful crust on the bottom. So just wanted to share that with you. So if you do decide to make these, they will be more successful on your first try than mine were. Bye-bye. One more tip. I did have to taste these to see if they did turn out. I mean, they looked like they did. I do not like them fresh out of the oven. I always put them in a piece of Reynolds wrap, put them in the refrigerator or freezer. A lot of things are like that. A lot of things. These just happen to have a better flavor if you let them sit in the refrigerator overnight or freeze them. At least that's my opinion. You can decide for yourself. Okay, I'm going to sign off. I'm going to go ahead and make some more of these. Tom and Jim are still out putting up the light pole. So I'm going to try to do this without his help. I'll try to talk you through this. I just used a piece of Reynolds wrap. You can use whatever you want, but I'm lazy. I don't like to wash a lot of things, and I can just throw that away. Put quite a bit of flour down. You do not want that to stick to the Reynolds wrap, and then put flour on top and roll it out with your rolling pin. Actually, I may have gotten that just a tiny bit too thin. You don't want it thin, you don't want it thick, and I think that's just a bit too thin. But I'll go ahead and use it anyway. So now I'm going to put the apricot preserves, the coconut, and the nuts on there, and then I'll be back. Okay, another thing I learned, the recipes really are not adequate. They just give you the ingredients. Took me years to learn this one. Put your apricot preserves, your coconut, and your pecans on there, and then divide it in the 3 pieces on each side, and take your knife and scrape everything to the center, and then leave this blank, because you've got to pinch the dough together so it doesn't ooze out. Now, I showed you the difference between putting it on and then coming up with this before you cut it and roll it. Okay, Tom just walked in. So he offered to video this part of it because it might be a little tricky. And I've cut that. And as I said, I got this just a little bit thin. Move this back up this way a bit. And then bring your two sides together. And pinch those together like that to prevent oozing. And then you take this, pinch that right there, pinch this. So now you've got a nice little compact pastry there, and hopefully it won't ooze out. And as I said, you'll want to do these and then put them in the freezer for a while before you bake them, but that's what you're looking for. So we'll take a quick break and I'll get all these on the pan, and then I'll show you how to put the milk and sugar on. Okay, I got them all made out, and now I'm putting the milk on. I think some people use an egg wash. You could probably do that, but I've had good luck with this. Get quite a bit on there. Because you kind of want to wash that flour off. And get that extra milk off of there, or that will cause them to stick. You just don't want these to stick. Now, I put quite a bit of sugar on there because that apricot is tart, and then I kind of pat the sugar into the dough. And this is just white granulated sugar. I guess you could use the coarse sugar if you wanted. The milk helps the sugar stick to the dough. And then what I do, clean the milk up, and the sugar kind of gives it something to sit on so that the dough doesn't stick to the Reynolds wrap when you bake it. I'm telling you, it's taken me so many years to figure all this out. So if you make this, you'll be way ahead of where I was. Then you can just kind of do that. And it takes a long time to do this. But I don't know any place that you could buy them. I have never seen a bakery, and believe me, I've checked out a lot of bakeries. I've never seen a bakery that makes them. These are getting pretty warm, and that's why I put them in the freezer, because the theory behind good pastry dough, especially pastry dough with butter, and to get that nice golden crispiness, is to keep everything cold, and you just can't do that. All right, that is ready to go into the freezer, so we'll see how this turns out. We'll be back. Well, we're back. I just took these out of the freezer, and I noticed that they were kind of syrupy underneath, so I do not want to lose this crust. So I'm putting more sugar under each one after they've been cooling in the freezer for probably an hour. So I'm going to put them into the oven, 350 degrees. We're going to start at 15 minutes and probably go to 20, but that's personal taste on your part. So we'll be back when these are ready to come out. I'm back. It's the next day. It's time for coffee. I'm ready to enjoy my morning cup of coffee with 2 of the sour cream pastries. I hope you enjoyed the video and that you'll try making these. They're a lot of work, but I really think once or twice a year, they're a really nice treat. I enjoyed bringing this to you. Maybe I'll make another one. Bon appetit. I wanted to share our lovely sunflowers with you.